Chosen one, this moment is not a coincidence. Your soul was drawn to this video because the heavens whispered the same message to you 7 times. The number 1111 didn't appear before your eyes for nothing, and the prayers of 33 prophets did not fall upon you by chance. You are one of the 144,000 chosen, and your presence here is a divine sign. This message was sent to awaken the secret that has been resting within your heart. What you are about to hear are not just words, but divine vibrations that will sink deep into your soul. If these words are touching you, leave your heart in the comments so the heavens can witness your testimony. Because when you write, another soul will awaken. Now prepare yourself, for this video will illuminate your path. Those who recognize the signs of God know that nothing is random. That's why your being here is already a miracle. The word spreads through you. Share this video, subscribe to Chosen Archangel, and let us rise together until we hit 1,000. You're not like the others. You possess an uncontainable energy. And whole worlds suddenly change when you relocate. Some people silently observe you as you attempt to piece together your path map, but they are unable to follow. They were never drawn for it. It's no accident that you've entered this situation. It's the design. You are already traversing areas their minds are unable to comprehend, while they hold on to relics of the past. Losing you isn't the cause of their sadness. The realization that they have been gone for a lot longer than they ever acknowledged is the key. You broke a whole rhythm that kept others lulling in saying this when you made the decision for yourself. It was more than a farewell to a person, a profession, or a location. It was the destruction of an entire delusion. They perceive your distance as frost and your bravery as cruelty. In actuality, however, the naked fire of rebirth is what they refer to as detachment. When your name comes up, people hear an echo that isn't sadness. It's the implicit acknowledgement that you touched something they were too scared to assert. You've entered a realm beyond the scope of their reasoning. More than any storm beyond their walls, that frightens them. You were the first person to unlearn the generations-old scripts. The first to challenge the customs of restriction disguised as tradition. They believed there were just barriers, but that one inquiry broke the quiet and revealed exits. Now, the repercussions of your disobedience are shaking their late-night thoughts. You become the mirror that shows them what they have avoided, even while they act as though nothing has changed. Their numbness is broken by the pulse. Without you, truth in its unadulterated form confronts their lives. The ground they stand on feels shaky, and the ease of declaring this has been shattered. Because you exposed its inherent hollowness, not because you destroyed it. They must choose whether to awaken or stay imprisoned in the echoes of the past during this unraveling. They are unable to publicly state that you are the evidence they covertly require. Evidence that freedom was always a decision, that the walls were imagined, and that the cage was never locked. The price of their obedience has been revealed by your unwillingness to compromise. They are shaken by it because they know in their hearts that they have other options. But making that decision calls for bravery they haven't yet mustered. It's not just your adventure. It trembles. Your steps propel people onward despite their resistance, much like a stream that flows invisible beneath the surface. Some people will gain bravery and learn to breathe fresh air. Others will become so overwhelmed by the weight of change they are unwilling to embrace that they will retreat into their own resistance. In any case, your presence has permanently changed the direction of events. And the truth is right here. Not everyone is here to understand you. Your purpose is to light that which cannot be extinguished. You are the disturbance that shatters ease. The summons that awakens souls from their sleep. You don't have to bear the weight of their resistance or awakening. You were destined to transcend their understanding. You also serve as a reminder to the world that transcendence is achievable. You are the type of person who demonstrates that a single step can shatter entire illusions and that quiet can sometimes be louder than arguments. You weren't leaving anybody behind when you left. The delicate strands they had woven around your life were being untangled by you. People who earlier used their ideas to define you suddenly understood that your refusal to stay in captivity was not an act of rebellion. It was the movement of truth. Around them, they had become used to empty resistance. change-related promises that fell apart at the first hurdle. You weren't bluffing, though. You didn't broadcast. You didn't provide an explanation. You didn't hold off until they nodded. You just made a move. And you shattered their whole story in the process. Since it was the first time they had seen someone live out their convictions rather than merely talk about them, your leaving caused a shockwave. They now realized that your acquiescence was the source of their comfort and that your readiness to compromise was the source of their sense of control. The stage they constructed feels empty without you, since the person who was responsible for their illusion has finally put it down. And it's not that you departed that frightens them the most. You did what they said was not possible. You did what you were supposed to do. None of them can ignore the mirror that your independence has become. Your absence now harshly exposes their stagnation, which they earlier believed was justified by your presence. You are creating a life that goes beyond simple survival. It is proof that their ideas about themselves and you were based on limitations. Every choice you make, every habit you develop, and every seemingly insignificant triumph you achieve is actually an unwavering testament to your freedom. Every day you succeed without the support they claimed you required makes their labels fall away. Their dread has nothing to do with losing you. Self-confrontation is the key. On the belief that you would never surpass their expectations, they had staked all. Now, each success you make a reality out of turns into evidence that they were wrong. And when you go on, your journey serves as a reminder that the life they settled for was never the only one, which makes their silence become heavier. They constantly thought that your potential needed their approval. They were unable to see that your willingness to stop waiting for approval, rather than your ability, was the obstacle. You gave yourself the power they wouldn't give you. While they were still arguing whether you were capable, you declared yourself ready. Their passivity is shown by such bravado, which makes them uneasy. It demonstrates to them that salvation is a personal choice rather than something that is granted by others. What is now referred to as bravery is nothing new. Though invisible until you claimed it, it was always inside you. They act as though it is special and dress it up with adoration, but they know deep down that it is simply the result of someone refusing to continue negotiating with their own skepticism. Envy is there because you decided to save yourself while others woke up to be rescued. They find your journey so upsetting because of this. You have demonstrated to them that choosing to escape is a choice, not a wish. So they can only see painted shadows on the walls they lean against for protection. The moment you stop justifying your aspirations to those who are interested in keeping you tiny, you will truly be independent. And your life now serves as living evidence, whether they acknowledge it or not. There is no freedom. It is constructed in unwavering steps. You are a living example of how true success comes from not betraying yourself rather than from receiving praise. You had the wisdom to say, "This path is not aligned with me," while others bowed down to customs that no longer worked for them. Even if it is expressed simply, many people will never be able to summon the force of that recognition in their lives. Pulling someone out of a calamity was not the spectacle of your rescue. Saving yourself from patterns that weren't yours to perpetuate was a silent act of bravery. By refusing to be the echo of unsolved stories, you protected your future from a script that was written by others. No one on the outside will ever fully understand the expense of the voyage. You bear painful memories, disappointments that have left their marks, and voids that have left their marks on your heart. Nevertheless, you found something uncommon. Perfect timing is not necessary for progress. Life wasn't put on hold until all the wounds were healed. You refused to allow either pain or strength to override the other as you marched forward with both. Despite your voice quivering, you decided to draw lines in the sand. Even if you were still learning how to let go of yesterday, you dared to aim for tomorrow. The courage that distinguishes you is more important than any well-executed triumph. The decision to continue moving forward despite difficulty is what defines your strength, not the lack of struggle. Others wait for scars to go away before making another attempt. However, you disproved that notion. You demonstrated that going into uncertainty becomes the very cell that teaches the body and mind to adapt, and that movement itself is medicine. You embodied a reality that most people shun. Never leaving the cage is necessary to ensure complete safety. This is the paradox you represent. The process of healing is not complete before life begins. It is the process by which you are reshaped by life itself. Those who attentively observe you are compelled to be challenged by your example. Don't just watch, engage. Subscribe to Chosen Archangel, press like, and leave your amen in the comments. Together, we rise to 1,000. They see you flourishing because you persevered through hardships rather than because life was simple. They understand that carrying suffering is not a sign of weakness but rather of creativity, the process of building resilience via repetition. And even though they might not say it out loud, your bravery has sparked long-buried questions in them. What justifications would they still have if you could establish independence in spite of your past? You exude an air of invitation and defiance. To those who support you, you are now indisputable evidence that chains are temporary. They find themselves daring to envision more after being inspired by your refusal to settle for less. For those who are uneasy about your advancement, you stand for the unsettling truth that the life they claimed was impossible is actually within grasp. And every new accomplishment you make dispels another of their doubts. Many people cannot comprehend the gift you possess. The capacity to transform what was intended to break you into insight. You've transformed your suffering into insight, guidance, and power that expands rather than constricts, whereas others hold onto it like remnants of their identity. Every failure served as a springboard for improvement. Every breakup shifted your viewpoint in the direction of a more profound reality. Each rejection created space for a bigger thing to come. Because they have learned to define themselves by their scars, they found it difficult to comprehend this transformation, whereas you learn to transform wounds into paths. The fact that you no longer let your wounds to define who you are makes them uneasy, not your injuries. Your tale is one of perseverance forged in fire rather than unabated victory. You still have the scars of betrayal, of doors being closed when you were looking for opportunities, and of quiet when you needed voices. However, you never waited for all the marks to go away before getting up. While still dealing with the pain of trespassing, you established limits. While still in pain from the old pathways collapsing, you forged a new course. They perceive in you the courage of someone who stood despite trembling, not the appearance of perfection. That's what sets you apart. You entered your evolution while it was still raw, not when it was comfy. A fundamental that many people avoid is revealed by your metamorphosis. Growth starts while the storm is still going on, not after it has passed. You pushed forward, still bleeding, while others pause, negotiating for certainty before they dare to move. And healing started in that movement. They are shocked to learn that you thrived because you refused to let hardship define you, not because things were easy. Every setback served as practice for resiliency. Every setback served as a training ground for strength. Your life has demonstrated that action does not require fullness. It's the outcome of it. Their incredulity stems from the reflection of your life back at them, not from your accomplishments. Where they vowed collapse was inevitable, they have seen you bring stability. They previously laughed at your ability to maintain your independence. To them, your development undermines the security of their justifications. The distinction between those who choose to create something new and those who stay trapped in victimhood is shown by your path. Every accomplishment you make serves as indisputable proof that their story of limitations is self-inflicted. You have always stood out because of your authenticity, and resistance has always followed. Your boundaries reminded some of their own shortcomings, which made them resentful. Because it heightened their own dread of dreaming, several people disregarded your vision. Some made a concerted effort to divert you by casting curses on your destiny and causing distractions. However, their attempts to prevent you only served to highlight the brittleness of their own certainties. It wasn't your decisions that threatened them. It was the mirror your selections put in front of them. They were unable to foresee your readiness to be misinterpreted. Even though it meant being mislabeled, you made the decision to remain steadfast. Because you wouldn't give up on your own truth, you agreed to be portrayed as the antagonist in their tales. Those who depend on approbation for their survival are frightened by that kind of disobedience. They reshape themselves to fit in, but you decided to stick to your principles even if it meant going into exile. Your power is rooted in that willingness. In places where others are still imprisoned, it is what releases you. Your current life serves as evidence that freedom is a choice made every day rather than a gift that is bestowed. Selecting your voice above their expectations, integrity over mimicry, and sincerity over performance. These decisions created a reality that both inspires and disturbs people. And they cannot deny the reality that your existence proclaims, regardless of whether they oppose you or rejoice over you. You were able to grow into something unstoppable from the same agony that imprisons many. You are the evidence that innocent dreams are directives rather than delusions. You continue to hear that inner voice, while others learn to bury their earliest visions under the weight of what was deemed reasonable. What started off as mental sketches became the cornerstones of the life you currently lead. Once considered inappropriate careers, too brave lifestyles, and relationships that appeared out of your grasp. What you dared to revere as sacred gave rise to all of these. The reason for their perplexity is because you interpreted their awe as knowledge. Growing older meant giving up possibilities. They persuaded themselves, while they sacrificed theirs on the altar of practicality. Your life, however, screams the opposite, that the most obvious blueprint for destiny may be found in the whispers of youth. The most unsettling thing is that the life you've created contains a sort of virus. Every genuine decision you make reveals how weak their justifications are. Every accomplishment you make exposes the holes in the years-long practiced myth of impossibility. You expose the true nature of their cycle's mechanics by refusing to repeat them. To keep individuals bound, they have used deceptive promises, deception, and habits of withholding. But the veil was torn away by your refusal to take part. You no longer confused crumbs for food. Ceased pleading with those who were dedicated to distortion for comprehension. Stopped allowing anybody who came solely to take entry. By doing this, you shed light on the very system that they claimed was invincible. People around you are at a crossroads because of the change you brought about. Some have decided to examine lives they previously accepted without doubt, allowing your example to provoke their own inquiries. They are advancing their own growth in modest but significant ways. But some have opted for resentment. They rush to defend their inaction, rewriting your victory as a result of unfair advantage or luck. Because your advancement challenges their conviction that change is impossible, they band together to defend their limitations. However, even their opposition attests to the influence of your trip. They show how severely your achievement disturbs their carefully cultivated illusions the louder they try to downplay you. There is a reverent audience looking beyond the gaze of those you left behind. Your breakthrough is a recognition of the invisible lineage that preceded you, the ones who persevered without the resources you now possess. They understand what it's like to suppress the truth in order to survive, to stay where freedom was unattainable, and to compromise appearances for the sake of appearances. You now enjoy the triumphs they were compelled to secretly dream of. Their perseverance is validated by your bravery. Their sacrifices are carried forward into completion by your decisions. You had to tear down the walls where they couldn't leave the previous systems. You have dissolved the burdens they took on. You heal those whose voices were silenced in history as well as yourself with each act of rebellion against limitations. You've grown in more ways than one. It echoes through time. Your boundaries have a knock-on effect, lessening the impact of what they went through. Your accomplishments have a cascading effect, broadening the vista for those who follow you. What you refer to as progress is more than a personal achievement. It's a recalibration of generations. You won't carry on the patterns that have been disrupted. The bravery you embrace becomes a legacy for future innovators. This is the extent to which you have changed. You are not the end of it. For everyone who is related to you, it rewrites the field. You stay unfazed since the truth is not in their interpretation but rather in the reality you live in every day, even while others continue to doubt, oppose, or minimize. You have demonstrated that the most radical act of freedom is authenticity, that creativity is not weakness, and that dreams never die. Their incredulity merely emphasizes how important your perseverance is. The resonance of your boldness is only enhanced by their quiet. They can ignore, misinterpret, or harbor resentment, but they can't take away the evidence you've built with your life. You're not only going after what used to motivate you. Beyond that child's wildest dreams, you are creating it, living it, and growing it. By doing this, you bring to the world's attention something that it forgets all too often. That the most accurate path to becoming is frequently what starts as a spark in a child's innocence. The happiness that comes from your development is not limited to human approval. It transcends this world, untarnished by rivalry or jealousy. Because they have seen every quiet conflict and every secret instance in which you put truth before comfort, those who walk with you in spirit are aware of the depth of your decisions. We are building a family of light, the first 1,000 souls. Be part of it, subscribe to Chosen Archangel, press like, and leave your word in the comments. They rejoice because they see you living in accordance with your true self, not because of praise or prestige. They respect the fact that, despite the consequences, you dare to be yourself. They are happy that you have made the decision to live your life to the fullest. Personal change is only one aspect of what you've done. It has changed the opportunities for people who are related to you. Your decision to break free from dysfunctional cycles was more than just a self-defense move. It was a consciousness breakthrough that is now available to others. You provided a real-life example of freedom by rejecting to remain constrained by antiquated roles and expectations. Your arrival into everything expansive became your absence from what formerly depleted you. Every action you've performed has conveyed the idea that limitations are temporary. It was just a door that needed to be opened by someone with the courage to do so. Because of your decision, you become that example and have left a path that others will eventually follow. It is confirmed in this chapter that self-selection was not selfish. It was holy. You established a new standard for what emancipation can entail by moving away from the known. The proof that your personal breakthrough opened doors for everyone around you is now too strong for those who are watching to ignore. Your experience demonstrates that courage is the resolve to move in spite of fear rather than the absence of it. And in doing so, you have sparked resistance as well as celebration. You are a live example to those who are tuned into your journey that, regardless of life stage, reinvention is always possible. You've turned into someone people turn to when they need a reminder of what metamorphosis looks like. People are now allowed to aim for thriving rather than just survival because of the advancements you've made. Not by chance, but since harmony naturally draws abundance, prosperity is becoming closer. You no longer fit the old standards of worth based on suffering and tiredness. When you live truthfully, you found that real resources flow. Opportunities that reflect your development will now present themselves. Persistence grounded in truth has the ability to soften obstacles until the proper doors swing wide, even though some may not open at the first knock. It's not luck that's coming. It's everything you've prepared to hold coming back to you naturally. The change is evident in how your inner effort has rewritten your external reality in addition to what you have gained. People can clearly perceive the connection. The energy that brought light into your surroundings was the same courage you had in facing your shadows. Life responded with more than you could have ever imagined, reflecting your refusal to accept less than you deserved. Speaking candidly about your journey's hardships, recovery, disappointments, and victories has helped others who previously believed they were alone. You have shown that being honest is a kind of power that can cure the listener as well as the speaker. Naturally, your candor disturbs people who have a stake in concealing some facts. Those who continue dysfunction feel exposed when it is named. When you speak of treachery, people who are guilty identify with what you say. But you never intended to keep them comfortable. You have always been expected to talk and live authentically. The emancipation your voice provides to many others who find validation in your courage is greater than any discomfort, even if that truth breaks the hush others have built their lives upon. For every person who dislikes your candor, there are many more who are bolstered by it. There are communities who need you to stay loud, for every voice that wishes you would go back to being quiet. Who awakens as a result of your truth is a better indicator of its impact than who opposes it. And that is what your trip is all about. You realized that freedom lived aloud is always greater than fear, so you decided to keep moving forward in spite of all the misunderstandings. You're the type of person who has learned that real power is developed in the dark hours through unapplauded disciplines. Your habits that support you, the routines you follow, and the practices you return to are not insignificant routines. They are the exact structure that makes your change permanent. You are referred to as heroic by others, but not because you saved their lives. You saved yourself, that's why. You declined to take on their burdens, not because you eased their difficulties. You showed that the healing was possible, not because you corrected their errors. They are unable to see that your visible development is unquestionable because of the unseen framework of your devotion. These calm moments of introspection are actually times of building rather than inactivity. You are creating stability that chaos cannot destroy when you cultivate attention, lean into awareness, and allow silence to change your viewpoint. Your technology of strength has evolved from simple methods that people who associate movement with success ignore. Maybe you visualize, practicing the reality you are creating before it is completely realized. Perhaps you sit in silence, reminding yourself that progress, not stasis, is your actual rhythm. To the untrained eye, what appears to be nothing is actually a rewiring of the brain, a change in feelings, and a recalibration of energy. People can't shake you because of this. They feel a poise they can't shake, a self-assurance they can't undermine. This is not conceit. It is the result of intention and practice. It is knowledge born of insight, not detachment formed of bitterness, that allows you to leave dysfunction without explanation. They don't know the difference between letting go and abandoning, so they mistake your boundaries for cruelty. You now know how to safeguard your energy like money and avoid making investments in exchanges that will cause you to lose everything. You cannot develop thriving systems with every ounce you pump into broken ones. Every effort to persuade someone of your value wastes energy that may be used to increase that value. They confuse chaos for connection, battle for love, and instability for passion, which is why they find your refusal to engage in drama unsettling. You've demonstrated that maturity is about knowing when to go, not how long you stayed. You are now the one who spoke up and told the truth without expecting anyone to believe you. You made the decision to expand without waiting for permission. You didn't inquire if the world was ready before stepping into yourself. You can now plainly see that the departure was never about abandoning given the gravity of those decisions. It had to do with leadership. Your arrival into destiny was the result of your absence from limitations. Your embracing of strength was your escape from fear. Who you were always meant to be was revealed when you bid farewell to who you were before. Chosen one, remember this, heaven never sends a word without purpose. If this message has stirred your spirit, let it shine brighter. Press like so the light spreads to others walking in darkness. Subscribe to Chosen Archangel so you never miss the next divine revelation. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Your testimony may be the very spark that awakens another soul. Until we meet again, stay covered by the wings of heaven and walk boldly in your calling.